Right. Uh, I think you're live now. Sure. Okay, great. Okay. Uh, nice. Uh, Hi. Good morning. Uh, my name is Munir, and today I'm going to be talking about how to write CV, academic CV for graduate school. So if you are joining from space, this is a YouTube live. This is a YouTube live webinar. So I'm sharing my screen right now, and those that have been with me for the past few weeks know that I do when I do stuff like this, I use my personal uh, my personal resources to teach whatever I teach, right? So I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about how to write statement of purpose, and I used my own personal statement of purpose that I used to apply to the University of Texas at Dallas to teach that webinar. So for those that were not there, you can go to my YouTube channel to check the video out. So, and I think okay, yeah. So before that, so this is gonna be my third webinar, and so this webinar is gonna be about how to write CV. So if you're joining from space, you're just listening to me, but those that are joining from YouTube, you can see my CV, my personal CV that I used to apply to the University of Texas at Dallas. So if you want to see what I'm going to be talking about live, you can go to my timeline and check out the link for YouTube, my YouTube link for the webinar. So you can join via the link, join us on space on YouTube Live. Then you can see my CV as I talk about it. But if you don't have the opportunity, yeah, you can just listen and maybe check out the video some other time. So so academic CV. Now, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the format, right? So those that have been following me on Twitter, you know that I talk a lot about common mistakes that people make when they write their CV that uh, that that causes them to get rejected uh, from graduate schools, right? When you apply to graduate school and you don't use the right CV format, um, you're gonna get rejected. That's like the consequence of that. And that's like the importance of why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So first, uh, if you want to write an academic CV, if you're applying to schools, say in the US, especially in the US, and you want to draft an academic CV, the first thing you need to check is check the website of your school. The school you want to apply to, check their website. Do they have like a specific requirement for CV? Do they have like a specific format requirement for your CV? Like, do they want you to format it in a particular way? Some schools usually give instructions as to how you format your CV, but a lot of schools in the US especially, a lot of schools don't do that. They don't give format. They just ask you to submit a CV. So That's the first thing you need to check. Is there an instruction as to how you need to draft a CV? If there is none, then this is going to be helpful. So this is like um, a general format, right? That you can use to like come up with your CV if you want to apply to a graduate school, especially in the US. So So the first thing is your number of pages. So if you can see my screen, you see that there are just two pages. I'm scrolling down right now. So the first page and then the second page. So uh, I mean, academic CVs apply to, of course, many many levels in the hierarchy of the academia. Professors have their own academic CV and all that. So depending on what you want to use it for, academic CV pages can be up to like can be 5 pages, can be 10 pages, can be 15 pages. But for you, if you're applying to a graduate school, your CV shouldn't be more than 2 pages. Why? Because it's a competition, right? And you're not the only one who submitted CV, you know. So those that want to check out your applications, they are called the admissions committee. And when they scroll through, like 100 up to like 100 applicants that apply to the same program you applied to, and and the application kit is not only containing your CV, it also has your statement of purpose. It also has your recommendation letters, right? So, do you think they are going to sit down there and go through your CV for your long CV for like 10 minutes? No, they don't have that time. So you want to save them that headache of having to just skim through and just like, okay, this is too long, I can't read this anymore. So you want to keep it short. In essence, that's what you want to do. So if you're writing your CV, try to keep it short. Now, when I say keep it short, I'm not saying 1 page. You're not drafting a resume to work at a filling station. That's when you write 1 page of CV. No, so at least 2 pages, and those 2 pages, I mean, if you write maybe a little bit above two, maybe it spills into three, well, yeah, that's still okay. But you shouldn't be writing up to three full pages of CV, 4 pages of CV. I don't know, man. I mean, you're wasting space. So there's nothing you want to put inside your CV that should be three pages long. So keep it short. Keep it to 2 pages. So now, so if you can see my CV, I'm sharing it right now on the screen. I'm scrolling down, up and down. So the first thing that's up there is your personal details. So there's my name up there, bold, very bold, and just my address. So I didn't give specific address. Why? Because it's not like you're not applying to schools in like within Nigeria, right? So, and it's not like they're exactly going to use your address for anything. So what I did was I just put my PO box uh, and my state, the state I stay in, and Nigeria, right? So you need to put Nigeria because you're applying to universities abroad. So this is why some people even think Africa is a country. So they don't know Africa is a continent that has countries, and those countries have states. So you have to like indicate because nobody knows what Ogun State is. I say in Ogun State, right? So so that's one thing. You don't have to put specific address. If you put, no one is gonna penalize you for that. But you just need to do that. Especially since you're applying to schools and they don't exactly need your address for anything on your CV. So I did that. Then I put my phone number. So now if you're putting your phone number, You need to realize that you are you are sending your CV abroad. So you don't want to use 080 whatever your local phone number. You want to like uh like you want to write in international format, really. So plus 234 is the format for Nigerian telecommunications. So I added plus 234 and my phone number at the time. I don't use that anymore. Then my email. This is even more important. But this is way more important than all of this. If you don't add your address and you don't add your phone number, that's okay because no one is gonna call you anyway. But your email, it has to be on your CV. Your CV has to contain your email. So after your personal details, now, so that's all about your personal details. Now, so one of the common mistakes that people make is prolonging those personal details, writing irrelevancies. Uh, the first thing you don't want to have on your CV is, and people make this mistake a lot, is your marital status. They don't care. Actually, they don't care if you're single or you're married or your relationship is complicated or whatever. No one cares. So if you have that on your CV, kindly remove it, right? So other things that people put on your CV is uh, objective and aims and objective. That's a waste of time. That's a waste of space. All right. So aims and objective, man. I don't know if unless maybe you're applying to an executive position at an industry job. Yeah, maybe that. I don't know about how to write CV for that one, but if you're applying to a graduate school and you have to write a CV, if you have aims and objective on your CV, remove it. They don't need it because it's a waste of space. No one something. No, don't put that. So the first thing I have here after my personal details, those ones I listed earlier, is my education. So my education contains. So I said BSc microbiology. Then I add a bracket here stating my CGPA at the time. So a lot of you don't know this. I'm not a first class graduate. I'm a second class upper graduate. So that's to tell you that uh you if you are 2-1, yeah, you deserve to be here as well. The opportunity is for you as well. So the opportunity is not restricted to people who are first class only. If you have lesser grades, you can. I've heard about people with second class lower who have gotten scholarship opportunities in the US. So that's that about that. So I added it, but if you think your grade is too low and you don't feel like you want to add it to your CV, not to give a bad impression, well, don't put it. But I added mine. So, and if you are first class, you might want to add it. BSc microbiology bracket, whatever your CGPA is. Then your date. So the date of graduation, my grade of graduation. So you don't have to put specific date. I just put month and year, October 2019. That's it. Then your school. Your school. Uh, my school is Usman Afodo University, Sokoto, in Nigeria. For those who don't know, that's where I studied. That's where I did my 4-year program. Then so under education, now, so one of the mistakes people make is, and this is very funny. So people don't care about where you went to primary school and secondary school, right? In fact, some people will put their creche and kindergarten schools. No one cares. No one cares actually. So if you're writing an academic CV for graduate school, the only education to care about is your undergrad. No secondary school, no primary school, no Orela Agege Community Senior High School. No. Just put your university, your CGPA if you want to, then under the education, so I added a few other stuff. One of the things I added is my top my my position in class. So my school asked this during the application. So when you're filling the application form, they ask you what's your rank. Yes, that's the word, your class rank. So my class rank was sixth. So we were 244 students in class, and I was the sixth, right? So if you turn that into percent, if you convert that into percent, that's 6/2. Yeah, 6/244 times 100. You come to 3%. So I'm among the top 3% of my class, right? So I added that, and those are little things that you want to add to your CV, to specific things that will give your CV some great strength. So I added one more line here. So when I was about to graduate, so I got an award for the third most influential graduate of my set. So I added that too. So those are little things. If you have achievements, if you are the best graduating student in your class, add it. If you are the best graduating student in your school, just put it here at the top on your CV. All right. So that's it for education. If you have a master's, yeah, put after BSc microbiology, after BSc whatever, put your master's degree there. Maybe if you have an ND, if you went to a polytechnic and you have an ND, maybe if you feel like you want to declare that, you should add it there as well. But that's it for my own education. I don't have an ND. I only have a BSc, and that's what I added, and that's it for my education. So after education, then comes another segment section. Yeah, skills, skills. Yeah, so this skill session. So this skill session. Uh, so I just remembered that it was like my CV reviewer, the person that reviewed my CV. I've said it like 3 times now on my space. The person that reviewed my CV was a professor, an assistant professor uh, at the University of Cincinnati at the time, but she left. She is now in the industry. So she was the one, like, she reviewed my CV, right? So she was the one who told me to adopt this format, that I should add my skills. So first, me, I added education, then I put work experience. But then she said that I should have a section after education that summarizes all the skills I have, especially those of you guys that are in the sciences, that are working in the lab or something. So you might want to, save your uh, the admissions committee the headache of trying to look for the skill set you have. So so I listed my skills here. So I think that kind of, like, you know I think it helps in some way, so they know like what level you are in, what kind of skill set you have. So here I put safe laboratory practices and procedures, DNA extraction, purification, and elution. So those are techniques that are used in my field. So I put data analysis, SPSS. I put that. Then I was learning data analysis with SPSS. I put web development and design, HTML and CSS. I was at the time I was learning that as well. I put Microsoft Office, of course, Microsoft Office. I put I was learning. So I said I was actively learning Python and C++. At the time I was learning Python as well. So these are skills I added to show that, yes, so I have some skills uh that could be handy, in the program that I'm trying to apply to. So skill sets that you think they are help They are needed, they are important for your program. You should have like a skills section that will list some of those things. It doesn't have to be long. You just list the ones you know, the ones that you're actively learning. You can put it there. So if you are learning tech, maybe you're learning some programming languages, you can put it there. Of course, uh, I mean the future is tech, right? So if you are learning some programming languages, add it there. Even if your program is not related to tech, I think in some way, especially in the abroad, uh, it's gonna be an advantage for you. So I also wrote excellent written communications. Now, so I practiced journalism in Nigeria for about 3 years. So when I spoke to my reviewer about this, she said I should write excellent written communication and article editing, evidenced by 3 years of journalism. So I did journalism when I was studying microbiology, but I was also a student journalist, writing for newspapers and all that. So and when I applied to UT Dallas waived my TOEFL, so I didn't have to write any English proficiency exam. So what this means is that in some way I felt I needed to like show them that I could speak and write very well in English language. So I listed in under my skills as excellent written and writing communication. Then demonstrated by 3 years of my journalism in English language. So if you are not a journalist, forget about it. But if you have some other things to prove, just show them here. So under my skills, I listed teaching as well, and leadership, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Some of those things. So, so it's good that you have skills. But if you think you don't have like things you want to list under skills, don't put it. Okay. But it's good. Just make sure you're not writing rubbish under that skills. So if you don't have anything to put, just delete it. It's not important. It's not necessary that it's there. I just feel it's very helpful. So after skills, then I have another section, work experience. So work experience, I listed my work experience. I think one of the fear a lot of people have about this work experience is that I'm a new graduate. I haven't worked anywhere before. So what experience do I have? Okay. Do not panic. I was also like you. So your work experience, if you were in the university, I'm sure one way or the other, you have to do IT, right? IT or CWS. So that IT or CWS, that's the work experience. So if you went for IT, wherever you went for IT, whatever you did there, that constitutes your work experience. If you're currently serving, doing your NYC in Nigeria, so wherever you're working, if it's related, that's another thing. If it's related to uh your program, to what you want to do. That's the work experience. If you're teaching at a school, right, and you're teaching, maybe if you're in the sciences and you're teaching a science program, a science course or a science class or whatever they call it, that is your work experience. So make sure the work experience, and this is very important, make sure it's in some way related to what you want to apply for. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. It just has to be somehow related, somehow connected, and you feel like it's going to add like an advantage uh to your application. It's going to be like an advantage to your application, maybe give you an edge over other candidates. Then you might want to add it. So here I did I worked a a lab when I did my IT. I worked at my CWS IT. I worked as a laboratory assistant at one small laboratory around my area, and I listed in bullet points, and this is very important. So you're gonna be using bullet points a lot when you're writing CV. So So in bullet points, I stated uh, what I did. The bullet points are not that much. It should be like three, four, five, depending on how important. So these bullet points is not a paragraph, it's not story that they want you to write there. It's just like very short. They have to be short. So you have to learn how to write these bullet points. So you can see my screen. So for those that are joining via Space, this is happening on YouTube Live, and people can see my screen on YouTube. So if you can see my screen, you will see how those things are written well. So routinely carried out molecular techniques for malaria diagnosis, performed DNA extraction, ran PCR on DNA samples for blood specimens, analyzed, interpreted results, and kept records. So so that's how to write bullet points when you are writing your work experience and all that. So put date as well, month and year, month and year that you started, and month and year that you finished for each of them. So research assistant, the position, then the place where you have your work experience. So research assistant, Center for Advanced Medical Research and Training, Usman Dafodio University Teaching Hospital, Sokoto. Then laboratory assistant, this laboratory in Ogun State, Nigeria. Then medical laboratory scientist as an intern. So I interned at a state hospital around my area. And writing. So I said I handled clinical biospecimens for HIV, AIDS, hepatitis B, tuberculosis, and cholera. I worked across BLS1 laboratories with little or no supervision. I also conducted antibiotic assays for bacterial infection. So depending on your course, on your program, on whatever you did, so you just have to come up with a bullet point. If you have your CWES or IT report, you can take from there and use it to fill out these places. So so don't worry about I don't have experience. That shouldn't be an excuse for you not to apply to schools. You just have to look inward. What do you do for your IT? Then you can use that to come up with an experience. So aside from science, aside from my IT work, I said I work as a journalist, right? So there's this fellowship that I got in African Liberty Writing Fellowship. It's a little bit down. Okay, I think I'm back up now. Man, that's very serious. This has never happened to me before. Sorry about that one. Okay, I think I'm back up now. Great. So yeah, so I wrote. Sorry about that little hiccup. That's what happens in America. Sometimes your Wi-Fi is down. So I listed my experiences in essence. Uh, then so I worked as a teacher. Now, so if you worked as a teacher, in fact, no matter what program you want to apply to, if you ever worked as a teacher, it's a work experience. So you should add it, please. Add it to your CV. So even if you were in SS3 when you or maybe you even if you had SSC when you were teaching, yeah, you should add it as well. It's a teaching experience. Just make sure you write the date. So I wrote the places I taught in Alikma University. No, not university. Alikma College in Lagos. So I taught science. I taught basic science to a class of 35 students. I prepared lesson plans. I managed classroom materials and all that. So if you worked as a teacher, please include this in your teaching experience. So after that, after your work experience, right? Then what should come next is your so after that one on my own CV, I added academic membership. So academic memberships include associations. academic association. Now that's underline that word. Academic associations that you belong to. So if you don't belong to any, just forget about it. So academic membership that I belong to, when I was in school, the the Science Association of Nigeria came to do like a conference at my school. So I registered as a student member. So the Nigerian Society for Microbiology as well, I'm kind of like a member of that one too. Then the Nigerian Society of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, I also included that I was a member. So if you have, maybe for those that have presented at conferences and maybe registered as a member of those uh, what do they call them? Professional organization, or what do you call them? So just put academic membership. For if you don't belong to any academic organization, don't include this. But if you do, I think it's cool that you add that. So after that section, then I have academic posters and conferences. So under this, I listed conferences or seminars that I've presented at the time and those that I have attended. So, so one of the things, and you should have something to put here because those are I defended my project, right? I defended my project. So that's in the US we call those posters. Like you present a poster. It's not only in the US. Like across academia, we call it a poster. So if you defended your project, you can add it under academic posters and conferences. So I presented a poster on my research project titled. I listed the title of the research project. Then I mentioned my university where I presented it at, and I mentioned the date. So I also, aside from defending my project, I also did a seminar. I presented a seminar for my program when I was in undergrad. So some of you guys do seminar and project defense. So those are things you can list under academic posters and conferences. You just put a title and you put your university where you presented it and the date. So some of you guys have had the opportunity of going to present at conferences. So you can list whatever you present here. So if all you have presented is your project defense and your seminar, I also added here academic conferences that I have attended, right? Academic conferences I have attended, because I had not presented at many conferences. I didn't even attend any conference, but I didn't present at any conference, but I did attend a couple of conferences. So I mentioned them. So at the time, COVID-19 was up. So I said I actually participated in this webinar organized by this person in April 2020. Then I said I participated in the Faculty of Science Career Seminar, participated in this annual conference of the Science Association of Nigeria. So if you have presented at conferences, mention them. If you haven't, mention conferences that you've attended. If you haven't attended any conference, I don't think you can add that as well. So, but if you've done your defense and presented seminars in school, you can mention them on the academic posters. Even if you present, maybe if you do presentation in class, you can even mention itself. So under that now, so this is very important, certifications. So I have a section that says certifications. So this section, it includes online courses that I took. So during the pandemic, I was able to take a couple of courses online, short courses online, on Coursera. Most of them on Coursera, and a couple of them on some other platform. So if you've taken courses or you're planning to take short courses in your program to learn more, and you are wondering where can I put this? Well, good news. You can list them under certifications. So I have a section called certification that includes all these webinar, no, not all of them though, related, relevant short courses that I took, right? So because I'm in molecular and cell, I was applying to a molecular and cell biology program. So I said here, I took Introduction to the Biology of Cancer, Bioinformatics for Beginners at John Hopkins University, you know, at this one, for Informatics for Beginners, University of California at San Diego, how to write and publish an academic paper at Eco Polytechnic in France, academic leadership and management in health, economic evaluation in global health at University of Washington. Then I mentioned the date I started and the date I finished. Some of them at the time I had not finished them, so I just wrote March 2020 to present. But the ones I finished March 2020 to April 2020. So so if you're trying to apply and you haven't taken any short courses, you might want to start considering doing that as well. Take some short courses. Take some short courses that are related, that are relevant to what you're doing, and just list them under certifications. And you can put the data you started, and if you are still doing it, you can put present to present. So I think that in some way should help you. It gives the impression that you, even though you don't have that much experience, you're still trying to learn more about your program. So then after certification, I have extracellular activities. So under extracellular activities, of course, you list things that are important that you did. So now here you try to limit it to things that are academic, things that you feel like extracurricular activities that you feel like can give you an edge over other candidates, or can give an impression that you are a unique candidate. So here, I was a journalist at the time, so I was at the point I took a position as editor in chief of a campus press board where I publish magazine and I publish articles. And at some point, I was the president of the Association of Campus Journalists in my school. So I mentioned that as well. Then with some bullet points showing what I did. Then I was also, so my university selected me as one of the electoral committee members for the SUG election at the time. So by virtue of me being a journalist, so those are things I listed. So I mean, I have some other activities, but some of them are not exactly relevant. So I mean, some of you guys while you were in school, maybe some of you guys were maybe pastor of your fellowship, of your religious fellowship, or maybe you are the secretary of the campus fellowship, or the you know all these religious organizations, or maybe your state organization, or your state student society, or whatever, or state student association. If you held position, I don't think that's like important to exactly put here, but you feel like that's the only thing you have under extracurricular activities, you can put it. I mean, it shows that you held position of leadership, right? So you can add those ones as well if you feel like they are important, but if you don't feel like they are exactly necessary, you can remove them. At the end of the day, there's no set in stone rule for writing CV or writing SOP. So eventually, they're all guidelines that you can that are malleable, and you can always change based on your situation and based on the school you're applying to, or the program you are trying to apply to. So awards and recognition. So after extracurricular activities, we have awards. I have awards and recognition. So under awards and recognition, under awards and recognition, I listed the awards, academic awards that I got. I never got an academic award in undergrad, but I did got some award as a journalist. So I included those ones. I mentioned the date I got those awards. So if you're the bright graduating student of your department, you can list that here. If you got some award that are related to academics, you can as well list them here. Then publication. So the last on the list here is publication. So I think last week, the last video we talked about uh, like if you don't have publication at the moment, what you can do to make up for it. So having a publication is important. It's not like it's necessary, but it kind of gives you uh, a an advantage, right, over the competition. But the competition. So, and most of the people you are competing with are people from across the world with a lot of exposure, you know, and a lot of them have strong research background. They have publications and all that while they are in undergrad. So, but you're coming from Nigeria, or you're coming from Africa, or you're coming from Asia, or wherever you're coming from, and maybe you don't, I mean, while you're in undergrad, you don't have access to some of these resources. So, but now you're a graduate and you don't have any publication. So, what can you do? Well, so at the time, what I did was I wrote a review article. I wrote a review article. So, you can take this class. Let me come up. So, one of the certification classes I took was how to write and publish an academic paper on edX. I think it was on edX or on Coursera. So you can also, I think I took another one, how to write a review article. You can take online courses on them. They're very short courses. You can finish up. So, a review article does not take long to write. If you are serious about it, if you're able to come up with a manuscript, then you can use it here on your CV. Even if you have not like published it, you can submit it to a journal, right? Or even if you are still writing it, you can mention it here under publications. So you reference it just like you reference any publication, any article. You can use APA style or whatever style you would like to use, or MLS reference style. Then you put the title you want to give it, and after that you write under review for publication. I wrote under publishing review. Uh, you can put impress if you have submitted it to a journal. You can put impress in front of it to show that you're still it hasn't come out yet, but if it's published, then you can then put it. So I think that's pretty much it about CV writing. Now, so if you want to have some resources, I can share with you guys on how to write CV and all that. So I do that almost all the time on my Twitter timeline. So check my timeline. I'm still maybe today or tomorrow. I'll try to share some resources that I do have for those that missed it when I shared it earlier. I'm going to try to share them again. So it's about those resources that can help you in drafting your own academic CV. So, but for now, so this is my CV. This is my academic CV, and this is the CV that got me the admission into UT Dallas. So please not copy and paste, but you're free to use the format and use it to draft your own CV. So that would be in the now. So for next week, I'm gonna be holding another space next week to talk about another thing. Uh, so this is like a weekly webinar kind of thing. I do this every week. So for those that are joining via Twitter Space, you can as well follow. You can like so. I'm showing my screen right now, right on YouTube Live. If you want to see what I'm talking about, you can come to YouTube. When I end this page, you can see the recording. You can find the recording on YouTube. You see the link on my timeline. Just click on it, and it's going to get you here. Then you can see my CV and how I formatted it. So one last thing I'm going to say before I close is that it doesn't have to be a uh, fancy format. So academic CVs are very humble and modest. So don't no colors, no. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't put some colors, but no unnecessary fancy designs, right? So just keep it black and white. Black and white. I mean, if you're applying to a job in the industry, or you're applying to maybe a job at a bank or something, yeah, I mean, you can format it whatever you like. I don't know about that. But if you're applying to a graduate school, you want to keep it modest, black and white. So when I designed mine, I did it on Microsoft Word. So all of this was very easy. Black and white, Microsoft Word, and I just remembered. So the format I use, and this is why it's this big. The CV is a little big because my CV reviewer asked me, she advised me to use the letter format. Letter. I'm going to type it in here. Let me type it in here. So if you are designing this on YouTube, just say YouTube. If you're designing this on Microsoft Word, you will see format, right? The page format. So you see A4, you see A3, but there's one letter. So that letter is like usually the format used in the US for papers. So it gives you a kind of bigger space to put your stuff, so that you have enough space to write whatever you want to write compared to A4, right? So you can use that uh, to format your CV. So make sure you don't put your pictures on your CV. These are not necessary, please. Uh, I don't think anyone cares about your face. Even at any point in your application, I'm not sure they will ask you to submit to upload your picture or your headshot. So you don't have to include it on your CV. Just show them that you're capable of doing great on the program. Show them that you are the best candidate. Show them that you have an advantage over other candidates. Show them that you are the best. I mean, even if you are not the best, you should you deserve a spot in the program you're trying to apply to, and I'm sure they'll give you. So, so I'm gonna close by saying that uh, if you draft your CV, make sure you find someone to check it out for you. You can see you can find people on LinkedIn. For some of you that are not on LinkedIn, uh, go to LinkedIn. Go and open a LinkedIn account. If you have a LinkedIn account, good for you. Get more active on LinkedIn. You'll find a lot of scholars on LinkedIn that have gotten that have gotten opportunities to study in the US or in other countries, right? That are doing their graduate programs that they can help you look through your CV, and they can give you feedback as to what you can improve or whatever. So I think that's what I'm gonna say. Uh, in the end, find someone after drafting your CV. Don't be cocky about it. Try to find someone to help you look at them and review them for you. So with this, I'm gonna say thank you guys for joining me today. Uh, if you are following me on Twitter, good for you. If you're not, I will see you on Twitter, and I'm going to see you guys next week, same time. I do this 5 p.m. Nigerian time, 11 a.m. US time every week. So I'm gonna be informing you on Twitter whatever I'm gonna be talking about next week. I'm fasting, so I'm kind of dried up right now. But if you have any questions, so kindly go to my Twitter timeline. You can tag me to your question. I'm going to respond to you when I come live. Thank you guys for joining me. So someone just asked, do you include referee? What I would say about this is it's unnecessary. Why? Because you're in your application, you're already asked to provide references. You provide recommendation letters, and those recommendation letters are coming from your references. So your CV should not be a repetition of that. They already know who your references are. If in fact you've already gotten letters from them. So these are old formats that people you don't have to list referees on your CV, your academic CV. No one is going to call you a referee. So they already have a way of reaching out to them via email on the application. So it's unnecessary, right? So if you have a publication, end your CV with your publication. If you don't, well, good for you. So having references on your CV is not necessary. So with this, I'm going to say thank you guys for joining me. I love you guys. Goodbye. Uh, bye bye. So for those on Space, you can find my recording here. I think it's recorded, and you can join as well. If you're not on YouTube, you can find link to join on YouTube. To see the recording on YouTube. Uh, on my timeline. So thank you guys for joining me. Bye bye.